Good morning. I don't want to do it, and I'm not gonna do it. I don't want to do it, and I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna lose my joy. No, no, no. I don't want to do it, and I'm not gonna do it. I don't want to do it, and I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna lose my joy. I'm not gonna lose my cheerfulness. I'm not gonna lose my faith. I'm not gonna lose my peace of mind, 'cause God is good all of the time. And I gotta say, I don't wanna do it, and I'm not gonna do it. I don't wanna do it, and I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna lose my joy. Hey, I'm not gonna lose my forgiving heart. I'm not gonna lose my hope. I'm not gonna lose it when the going gets tough, 'cause love is always lifting me up. So I gotta say, I don't wanna do it, and I'm not I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna lose my joy. Look at the world we living in. We got a lot of stuff going on. And I'm still not gonna lose my joy. No pandemic, no war, no school closings, nothing is not gonna do it. I don't wanna, I'm not gonna, I don't wanna do it, no, I'm not gonna lose my joy. So I'll say it one more time, I don't wanna do it, and I'm not gonna do it. I don't wanna do it, and I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna lose my joy. I don't wanna do what I'm not gonna do it. I don't wanna do it, and I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna lose my joy.
Gonna lose my joy. That is the kind of determination that's written on our hearts this very day. Hello and good morning, good day, heart and soulers round the world. If you don't know who I am, my name is Reverend Angelo Allen. I'm a minister here at Heart and Soul Center of Light. And this is a different look, huh? Well, it's a special look for a special day as we bring into its conclusion our Heart and Soul Center of Light celebration of Black History Month. Now, if you've been around Heart and Soul Center of Light any length of time, you know that just about every month we have some focus on Black history. And in February, our beloved Reverend Dr. Andriette Earl puts a special fine point on that pencil, not only lifting up Black history for Black history's sake, but also making sure that we weave in an understanding of how spiritual wisdom has informed that experience, that history, from the beginning all the way through to modern times. And speaking of Reverend Andriette, maybe you're wondering why she's not here. Well, the reason why is because at the urging of myself and some others and listening to her own inner divine wisdom, Reverend Andriette is taking a holiday. She's having a day off, much deserved and much earned, because believe me, as we have for the past 3 weeks, culminating today, been focusing on Black history. Reverend Andriette has poured everything she has, not into the celebratory aspect of it, but also into the teaching aspect of it. She is absolutely just putting all of herself into this effort so that, as she says, we get to know that Black history is American history, is world history, and is history right now. And so today is a kind of special presentation. As you can see, what you're looking at is a set design that we have set up here at Heart and Soul Center of Light. We are indeed in our sanctuary, but this is not going to be a front of the pulpit kind of experience today. If you know what, I'm going to give you a first ever behind the scenes peek of where we are at Heart and Soul. Here we are. Say, hey! You can see me and Danielle over there working the sound. And we're doing that in preparation for something special, which is, well, let me just come down to this kind of setup. You know, when a minister of the stature of Dr. Andriette voluntarily takes a Sunday off, particularly after going at it real hard and with some intensity in terms of celebrating Black History Month, well, you know that that leaves a mighty big footprint. Reverend, I'm not commenting on your feet, but it leaves a space for a lot in terms of what we're going to do today, which is a conversation around what we've been covering the last 3 weeks, or what Reverend Dr. Andriette has been covering. So here's the deal. I'm smart enough to know when to call for help. And believe you me, I have called in the cavalry today. The cavalry in the form of none other than our dear friend and minister, Will Coleman, PhD. Yes, indeed. So, Dr. Will, as we fondly call him, and I are just going to chop it up today and do kind of a review and make sure that we hit on some of the finer, more nuanced points of spiritual connection that Dr. Andrea has been talking about these 3 weeks. And if you happen to be one of the diminishing minority of people who don't know who Dr. Will is, allow me to give you this introduction. Dr. Will Coleman, PhD, is a theologian and teacher of biblical spirituality. He's originally from Memphis, Tennessee, where he attended Rhodes College and received his Bachelor of Arts degree in religion. Following that, he attended Columbia Theological Seminary in Decatur, Georgia, where he earned his Master of Divinity degree with a focus on theology. He went on to receive his Doctorate of Philosophy degree with distinction from the Graduate Theological Union in Berkeley, California, right up the street. His gift to humanity has been in teaching individuals and groups in a variety of contexts in the areas of theology and biblical spirituality, and he does it fluently in 4 languages: English, Hebrew, Greek, and Latin. He applies principles of Hebrew and Christian Bible study and spirituality for the enrichment of spiritual and psychological health. Will Coleman, PhD, also has studied and practiced a wide range of spiritual topics and disciplines within the tradition of the Kabbalah. Dr. Will Coleman understands that biblical spirituality is rooted in the knowledge that the sacred text called the Bible, which originated in Northeast Africa, is much more comprehensive as a guide for transformation and consciousness when delivered within the original sounds, symbols, and languages of the Hebrew, Greek, and Latin texts, as opposed to simply the English translations. He recognized early on that this is the true foundation for understanding both Hebrew and Christian spirituality. Will Coleman, PhD, also currently teaches biblical and theological interpretation in Hebrew, Greek, and Latin, and Afrocentric spirituality with the Interdenominational Theological Seminary in Atlanta, Georgia, and the Johnny Coleman Theological Seminary in Miami, Florida. And so, with that being said, it is absolutely my great honor and privilege to welcome my brother, our teacher, and our minister, Will Coleman, PhD. Welcome, Dr. Will.
Hello, my brother, and
Yes,
thank you so
indeed.
much for that introduction. I just want to say it's so blessing to be here because, for many years I would come out there to Heart and Soul, but now, blessings in the midst of other things, due to COVID, I can fly out there every Sunday and then fly back to Atlanta. So here, I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to be
Absolutely.
here so that our dear sister, Reverend Dr. Andrea Earl can get some much needed rest because, as you've already stated, she has put down some knowledge this month. And so it's going to take both of us to unpack some of the things that she's been talking about. So let me say one other thing, too. I
Yeah.
really want to say thank you to everybody who's supporting this episode of what we're doing now. And I want to say that the music, we could stop. We could just do some exegesis on the music we've heard this morning. And I also want to say to us to remember that when our ancestors were not allowed to read, they made singing their sacred scriptures. I said it again. Singing was the sacred scriptures of our ancestors, especially when they were not allowed to read. And that's just absolutely brilliant. And to hear these melodies and songs and affirmations today just takes me to a very deep place. And I hope it does the same thing for the rest of us, that we do not take it for granted, but that we bear in mind that they crafted these songs under duress, and they made these songs their sacred and our sacred scriptures before they were allowed to read the other scriptures. That's just, it's a moment. It's a moment. So
Absolutely.
too has our sister, and I love the way in which these songs are placed in the midst of her messages as another text inside of and alongside the other texts that are being read. And I don't want us to miss what is happening when she and or the other liturgists are doing that. That the song is a part of the message, A, and B, that the song is a part of our sacred scriptural heritage. So I just give appreciation for that.
Absolutely. Thank you,
You want to
Dr.
continue?
Will. Yeah. Yeah. So thank you for that. And also thank you for lifting up the fact that, we can bring you in a little bit more often because we're using a kind of technology that we haven't done here at Heart and Soul before. For anyone watching, this is live streaming. And we know that live streaming is live, unrehearsed. It is what it is. And so we're going forward with our conversation today. So, Dr. Will, I know that on many a Sunday, you are present with us watching the live streams because I see you pop up in the chat as I'm running the live streams. And you know, of course, that at the very beginning of February, Dr. Andriette took us to this sort of topic or subject matter of keeping our eyes on the prize. And the next week, she went to this theme of how we got over. And then last week, she talked extensively about how life gets to be the way it is. So I'm thinking that maybe we could approach it a little bit in that order and walk through,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
some of what she talked about. So going back to keeping our eyes on the prize. As I stated early on, Reverend Andriette has always emphasized that Black history is American history, is world history, is history today. We are living it now. And I'd like to ask you, as someone who has studied the origins of Black history and Black spiritual experience from African antiquity, spanning millennia, to the modern day, what do you think Dr. Andriette is trying to tell us here with Black history being
Oh,
American, world
yeah. Well, it's
history today?
extraordinary. Yes. What's extraordinary is the way in which she evoked first and foremost this Sankofa image. That is the Sankofa bird that has is moving forward, but at the same time is reaching by and about to grasp that egg. And we know the formula that goes with that is go back and snatch it. And in that context, she's inviting us to recover the best of the past, bring that into the present, and also go forward into the future. And there's one phrase that she used in that first sermon, and it was repeated elsewhere when she said that Black history is world history. And as she said that, I said, that's a whole series of lessons in and of itself, because what it made me think about is that history begins, not just Black history, but human history begins in South Central Africa millions of years ago. And I often say to my students, don't think of your history only on this side of the Atlantic, but use your imagination and go back and realize that every human being on this planet who's walking around today as Homo sapiens sapien had their beginnings from a single African woman in South Central Africa. And therefore, we all are truly children of Africa. And any history that has emerged since then, our journey around the world, is a consequence of humanity beginning in West Africa and populating this entire planet. So we are part, our more current history is part of a much deeper, broader, and expansive history of humanity itself over millions of years. And we are part of that very beginning. So we need to keep that in mind, that that's also Sankofa, is using our imagination to realize that our history truly, then literally, is world history. And we are near the epicenter of it in the ancient past and also in the present.
Yes. Thank you. You know, also in that first week, Dr. Andriette put a lot of emphasis, as she often does, on our ancestors. She mentioned the fact that our ancestors, throughout our history, have consistently demonstrated a willingness, a commitment, a kind of perseverance and determination. And, I think Valerie Joy is saying about it, I'm not going to
Just
lose
saying.
my joy, in order to move forward together. Now, what strikes me about this clearly a real thing that Reverend Andriette has noticed, this moving forward together kind of mentality, is that it seems to fly in the face of the modern Western mindset of rugged individualism. This idea of I'm pulling myself up by my bootstraps, or um, I take care of mine, you take care of yours, or look out for your own self, mind your business. That kind of rugged individualism.
Yeah,
Can you
yeah.
help us understand a little bit this dichotomy and why it's important to understand it?
Oh, I think she made it very clear. I'm just going to highlight something about that. What she demonstrated in the examples that she gave us in all three sermons is the are exemplars of communal self-identity, namely Harriet Tubman, Charles Langston, and Frederick Douglass. And what's important about those three individuals is that they chose to have a communal identity. In every case, they could have attained their own freedom and gone about their business, living a quiet life. But something inside of each of them ancestrally caused them to make a choice to not only speak and think for a people, but also to put love in action and to come back,
Yes.
in the case of Harriet Tubman, again and again and again and again, to come back and get the community because she had that communal sense of identity. And that eloquent speech that we heard by that Reverend Dr. Andrea recited from Charles Langston. Listen to how he talked not only about himself or just for himself, but for an entire people. And I believe as I listened to her recite what he said, she just became possessed with ancestral power, knowledge, wisdom, eloquence. All those things flowed through him. So too with the case of Frederick Douglass, who certainly could have been free and gone about his business, being kind of a local politician, but rather than do that, he chose to again speak for people all the way up to, as Reverend Andrew said, quoting Frederick Douglass, a man among men. Well, I say he was a man above men, given the fact that he was seen as below, but elevated himself above. And I think it's precisely because he did not act only for himself, but he acted for many, many others that he represented, and that he and all three of them together now embodied. This too, I would say something we should not miss, that the examples she gave are examples of what she's talking about, and that is contra individualism. It's not self-made, it's we-made. I like
Yes.
that phrase. Not
We
self-made,
made.
we-made.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Dr.
Oh,
Will.
thank you for the question.
Absolutely. And I'm intrigued in this idea of moving forward together. As you pointed out a moment ago, um, Dr. Andriette very purposefully positions the songs that support the music. And there's something about the power of the word. I remember when I was in school, they talked about the logos. You remember that bit of
Yeah.
Greek. The word of God making itself known through a people. And there's something about the word that gets embedded in our sacred music. Songs like Wade in the Water seem to carry a particular kind of power for a people who are determined to move together in the direction of spiritual liberation. Do you have a sense of how that works, how
Yes.
that DNA unfolds?
Yeah. In our African tradition say of Ifa, Isheche, there's something called Ofo Ashe. Ofo Ashe. And Ofo Ashe has the connotation that words are not just enunciations or sounds that we make, but words are also a substance. They are part of reality. They are that which, as it were, creates, shapes, and forms reality. And it turns out this is very consistent also with, as you quoted, the Logos, or in Hebrew it's called davar, or it's called verbum in the Latin. All three of these connotations are this. Words are not just things that we say, words are also things that we produce because words are stuff. Words are realities. Words are transformative actions. And I'm thinking about this right now because I remember this in the songs too. For example, the word love is not a noun. The word love is a verb.
Yes,
And
come
so
on.
when we say the living one is love, what we're identifying is that living power that shaped and formed and created everything is love, and that love is a specific form of action or actions towards creativity, towards liberation, towards freedom, because that's what it's about. Life is about liberation. Life is about salvation. Life is about abundance. So when we use our words, and I said this earlier, this is back to my point, our songs of our ancestors are stuff. They are word, but they also are substances to motivate us. You can feel it emotively, you can feel it you can think about it and feel it psychologically. And if you pay close attention, as again, Reverend Dr. Andre said in another case, you put your hands on the plow,
Yes.
and then, like the man at the pool, you got to get up and move. You got to get up and walk. You got to get up and take action. And you got to get up and do that, not just for yourself, not just pro me, but for us.
Yes.
And by extension, for humanity. This is why we remember these people, especially during this month, the examples we've seen, because I repeat, they chose ordinary people. One more point, ordinary people. You don't have to be extraordinary. Be ordinary
Ordinary.
and choose
Yes.
to do the extraordinary inside of your ordinary life, right
Yes.
where you are.
Right where you are. Woo! Thank you for that. I'm really resonating with what you said about our music as not just being formless, intangible sound. It's substantive stuff that we can grab hold of and which will deliver its power or unleash its power in, through, and as us. This is rich and this is deep. This is why we had to go to Atlanta this morning to call in Dr. Will.
And bring Atlanta to bring Atlanta to Oakland, because I've been so excited in everything that Reverend Doctor has been talked about this month, because again there are layers and layers. Well, we're talking about it, about the word. There are layers and layers and layers of what she has suggested, the energy that she's put into it, and the way that she's also attempting to help us shape the stuff of our lives,
Absolutely.
the shape the stuff of our breath, the stuff of our mentation, the stuff of our emotions, so that we can see, first of all, keep our eyes on the
On the
prize.
prize. Yes, sir.
Remember
Yes, sir.
how we got over. And then not just let life be what it is, but also to shape life how it should be.
Ooh, you brought me right
Shape
where I
life
want us to
how
go.
it should be. It's not enough simply
Yes.
to accept life as it is. No, no, no.
Yeah,
You're called to shape
absolutely.
it the way it should be.
The way it should be.
Yes.
So, keeping with this idea of eyes on the prize, and then I'm gonna move on to the next week. But Dr. Andriette reminded us that keeping our eyes on the prize really means something. It means that in order to do that, keep our eyes on the prize, we're going to have to take our eyes off some other stuff. Now, what do you think she not only means by that, but what is the call to action that she's trying to bring us into?
Well, I think here again, I think she said it in the message, just let go of stuff such as fear, things that keep us in a particular place and mindset so that we can't reach out and stretch and imagine and grow beyond current situations. I think it also encompasses when you say keep your eyes on the prize, it's not just these two eyes here. But here again in our African spirituality, you got to cultivate your eyes inside of your eyes. Cultivate the eyes of the deeper part of your mind. The eyes that can see things that are, Hebrews chapter 11. It's the eyes of faith that can
Yes,
see what does not exist yet,
yes, the eyes of
see
the
it
intuitive
into existence
faculty.
and call it to existence. You see, we are free. I'll say it another way. We are free because our ancestors saw us free while they were still in chains. That's why we're free.
That's
Even
why
though they
we're
were in
free.
chains, they saw us free. Ergo, we must be a generation that sees those who are yet to come freer than we are. This is why African axiomatic spirituality says you come here to make the world better than it was when you left. And you are here to make it better so that when you come again, it will be better. Now, that can
Absolutely.
be in terms of individual life cycle, but also can mean in terms of social, communal, political, and economic and ecological realities.
Yes.
That's Sankofa,
Yes, sir.
cultivating the inner eyes of seeing what is not seen clearly yet and have the willpower to bring it forth.
If
Amen.
amen indeed. The word that's coming up for me is like prophesying. It's seeing with that inner faculty, that divine
Yeah,
inner faculty that can foresee the future and draw it into reality. It may take
you're exactly right.
generations, it may
You're
take
exactly
as
right.
long
There's
as it
two
takes.
Hebrew words, matter of fact, related to prophesying. The first is called ro'eh. That's what I just referred to. It's the capacity to see. Not just to see things that they're being presented in the news, etc., but to see deeper than what is being shown. That's the first aspect, ro'eh, to see. The second aspect is nevi. It means then to be able to speak about what you see and also change or participate in the change of what is being seen. Individually, yes, but equally and maybe more importantly, collectively, back to that communal identity rather than the self-made individual identity. We are strong exponentially when we see, when we speak, and when we act about what it is not only that we see, but that which we intend it to be.
As we intended to be. Speak that word, Dr. Will.
Well, I'm picking up on what Dr. Andrea Earl has already
I,
given us. That's the purpose today, is
you
to
know what?
educate
I
what she's given
feel
us.
like we're so blessed. We've got this duality of doctors. We got West Coast doc, East Coast doc, bringing it all together right here at Heart and Soul. So,
Heart
what
and soul. That's exactly
heart
right.
and soul? There you go. Woo,
Could I just say
this is
one of the things
getting
that she said that when you said when she did the piece about it, and when you sing the song, my soul looks back and wonder.
wonders.
The English does not capture that adequately enough because soul means nephesh. It means my life force, that energizing power that gives me breath. It looks back and it wonders because it knows it has been in a struggle. How I got over, how we got over.
Yes. And
Our souls, our life force, look back. And we look back because we've moved from that place
yes,
and we're here now and we're going forward.
going forward, continual movement. So Dr. Andriette also says that in how we got over, clearly it was our ancestors paving the way through their vision of seeing us free and seeing us prosper. The baseline question I have, and I don't intend to be controversial here, but I really want to ask you, Dr. Will, whose ancestors are we talking about? And when I say that, I mean, are we just talking about black people's ancestors, or are we talking about the human connection to those who have gone before, who are ancestors, no matter where you come from, what you look like?
You're talking about all ancestors who participate in an ongoing process of freedom and liberation and wholeness. Remember, I said at the outset that my premise is that ultimately we all are Africans. Now, some of us might have amnesia, but we all are Africans. That's just a genetic fact.
Yeah.
Now, when we talk about the particularities of the context on this side of the Atlantic, then we're also, as she mentioned, we're talking about those who are our allies or who became allies. And I was going to sleep on Friday night, and I thought about that among our allies would have included, quote unquote, white people who also knew something about liberation and who also knew something about being refugees because they had come from Europe, as not all of them came on the Mayflower. No, 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 no. Many of them came under duress as well. And perhaps in that dynamic, their ancestral memory also of what it means to escape from bondage, persecution, opposition, and then to participate in that for others was awakened. And that's the key. And that's the key to what Reverend Andre has been saying as well. You must awaken it. You get to come out of the sleep of of indifference into a motivated place where you can identify with the struggle of one ultimately is the struggle of all, and that the quest for freedom and liberation of one, of the least of these, quote unquote, in a certain economic and social arrangement, is also the quest for all of us. None of us are free until we all are free.
Yes, absolutely. I'm thinking, I mean, you've brought up so much. This idea of coming out of the sleep of indifference. She spoke, I'm talking about Dr. Andriette, of course, about Charles Henry Langston, who I believe was the grandfather of Langston Hughes, who found himself on trial for his freedom and at risk of being deported back into chattel slavery. And allies rose up around him in allies who were white and other, showed up to defend and protect to such an extent that even the judge had to, in a fairly apologetic tone, say, "You are absolutely right." So just wanted to lift that up. And
Well, you know what's interesting about that too, as you were speaking, is that again, Reverend Dr. Andre Earl gave us some backdrop to that. That didn't just happen in an isolated place. It happened in the soul of Oberlin, and in the soul where ideas and actions for freedom, for equality had been cultivated in that space in Oberlin. So you had an environment, you had a consciousness of collaboration and participating in the, again, the struggle and the recognition for liberation. So when there was an intrusion into that soul, they activated themselves. And I'm going to say brother at this point respectfully, but Brother Langston had been grown, had been cultivated in that soul. He had it ancestrally, and he had a context that supported him. And I think that is also the reason that he could be so eloquent and also back to seeing and speaking, so prophetic and articulate. And isn't it interesting that the judge is still trying to negotiate, quote unquote, with the law? That's another point she made, with the law that had been written and a higher law that had been invoked by
Yes.
Brother Langston. The higher law that subsists, as law presiding over the laws, quote unquote, of the land. Because laws are written by humans. And since if they're written by humans, they can be changed.
Absolutely true. Absolutely true. So, as we then moved on to last week, Dr. Andriette talked about how life gets to be the way it is. And, that comes with a lot of baggage for folks in that um, life seems to not care what you are consistent at. And the Reverend Doctor said that life gets to be the way it is through consistency. And however you are consistent, whatever you're consistent at, life will always pay off in kind, in the vein of that consistency. If we are consistently holding on to a righteous vision, life pays off that way. If we are consistently holding on to, as you said, an image of fear or doubt or any number of things that don't serve us, life pays off in that vein as well. Would you care to say some more about how life gets to be the way
Yes,
it
yes, I
is?
do, because there's a fascinating twist in that, and I think she held it very well. One could say, well, life is the way it is, so I'm not going to do anything to try to change the way it is. Or one could say, life is the way it is, and I have the power and capacity to change and make it better.
Yes.
I got the farm image as she was talking about that of soil is soil. If you want to grow something out of the soil other than weeds and grass, you've got to cultivate that soil. You've got to put something in that soil. And you've got to cultivate it so that it brings forth the type of crop that you desire. Here again, when she used the example of Frederick Douglass, he could have just remained whoever he was, wherever he was in that context, that quote unquote, or the soil in which he found himself. But something inside of him, some ancestral power inside of him did not comply, did not stay in that type of soil. He cultivated the soil of his soul, so to speak, and arose out of that context the way it was to also, as I said earlier, make life the way it ought to be. And ergo, here again, not just for himself, because he could have had a quiet life on the other side of the Mason-Dixon line, but like Harriet Tubman in a different way. And like Brother Charles Langston in a different way, he chose to go back and fetch those who still were in bondage as an advocate for a better vision of a people and of a nation, and as a spokesperson for a people to a nation. And this is why I say he's not just a man among men, he stands as a man above men in this instance.
Absolutely. Also, standing as a man among men, as you point out, was Frederick Douglass. And Dr. Andriette spoke about him and his amazing accomplishments in the same vein of understanding that his whole life story was about extraordinary power, the power of God, living itself through the life of an ordinary person who then shows up as not just an individual, but as somebody who influences the generations over time. I want to very quickly talk about, this idea Reverend Dr. Andriette talked about life gets to be the way it is in two kind of dimensions, the micro and the macro. The micro is looking at the individual life. The macro is looking at the larger collective life that we are all living. And every so often, a soul emerges whose profound micro life is so expansive that it influences and creates a direction for a macro kind of thinking in our culture, in our world, in our nation. So Frederick Douglass was absolutely one of those people, and I'm really not wanting to miss the opportunity of talking very briefly about how he was seen during his time. I'm talking about Frederick Douglass. In particular, Reverend Dr. Andriette told the story of how he showed up at the White House at the event of Lincoln's second inaugural. And Lincoln had just given his inaugural address, and for which Frederick Douglass was present, and he came in, or attempted to come into the White House, and was quickly
Yeah.
apprehended by the White House police, who would not
Yeah.
let him in because of his race. I mean, after all, he was trying to walk in the White House while being black. There was
Yes, we That's right. Walking while being black.
That's
Exactly.
right. Uh, uh, an unwritten rule that was deeply ensconced in the psyche of the country at that time. But he knew who he was. And he said, I'm not leaving this place until I speak to the president. Someone finally recognized him, alerted the president that he was there, and Lincoln came out and said, there's my friend Douglass, come on in. And then, in my mind, the most phenomenal thing happened where Frederick Douglass, Lincoln asked Frederick Douglass, so what did you think of my inaugural speech? Which, depending on your point of view, you got to wonder, is he asking for his appraisal or is he asking for his praise? Either way, it is a profound question to be asking someone who was born in chattel slavery and now finds themselves in the same room with the most powerful person on the planet. And Frederick Douglass demurs, and he says, well, Mr. President, there's about 1,000 people here who want to shake your hand, and so my opinion couldn't possibly be that important. And Lincoln said, oh, no, I value your opinion more than anyone else in this country. I'm talking about everything that we have lifted up today, being able to see ourselves realizing the vision of the ancestors who saw us free, who saw us empowered, and making the decision as we are actively living Black history that we are the ordinary person living an extraordinary life. Is there more you want to say about this? I'm going
No,
on.
that's an extraordinary summation, and that if we take all three of the presentations messages of Reverend Dr. Andre Hill together,
Yes.
this is a key point that the microcosmic lives that we live can become macrocosmic in their implications by being true to who we are and cultivating a particular type of consciousness that strives for a better world for all. I think you've used that motto at Heart and Soul, a better world for all, from your own particularity. And also do not be paralyzed by circumstances. Do not be paralyzed by circumstances, quote unquote, whether they're personal, interpersonal, social, political, economic, or global,
Yes.
but rather be immobilized and emboldened in your own particular space to keep moving forward. And moving forward individually is the basis for moving forward collectively as we inspire others by effect, by what we say, and more importantly, by what we do in our everyday existence. And again, making that choice to be not only for yourself, but through love, which is a verb, for others.
Yeah.
Thank you, my brother.
Yes, indeed. It means we have to stand. We've got to stand for something. And we have to stand in a way that our ancestors kind of demonstrated for us, standing in grace, remembering grace, and then surrendering to a power that is larger than our human selves. We need to stand in forgiveness. We need to release and simply stand. You know, Valerie Joy Fidmont wrote a song about this, Dr. Will. I think we ought
Yes,
to hear it.
I'm glad. I'll be glad to hear it. You need to go ahead and cut that album too, the Heart and Soul album, so
Yeah.
we can hear it now in real time.
Thank you, Dr. Will and Reverend Angelo. When all that I see is what's around me, anxieties arise in my mind. But when I pray to see life God's way, I am no longer afraid, 'cause I remember grace. Then I surrender and I stand. I forgive, then I release and I stand. When we refuse to see another view, judgment clouds our minds. But seeing strength in our diversity helps break through our pain. So please remember and surrender and stand. Forgive, release, and stand. Please remember and surrender and stand. Forgive, release, and stand. Please remember grace. Surrender and stand. Forgive, release, and stand.
We invite you to be connected with us in all the ways there are to be connected, including following us online, and make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Turn on the notifications so that you know when service is underway and that you can make sure that you continue to be with us in community in that way. Family, we're so grateful to have spent time with you together today, and now I pass it back to our beloved Reverend Angelo Allen.
Thank you, Reverend Sonia. And I just want to take a few moments to thank Dr. Will once again for being our minister and our teacher here today. I want to thank everyone who has contributed to making this service happen, including everyone who's watching. It's not a service if you're not there watching. So I'm encouraging you to tell your family and friends about this thing you know called Heart and Soul Center of Light. I want to thank those who have helped us with the technology today. This was our very first time live streaming coast to coast. Well, with a different destination, bringing that into our live stream here in Oakland. I want to thank Reverend Dr. Andriette Earl, for her wisdom, for her grace, and for her good sense to get some rest. Yeah, because we can't use no wore-out minister. We need a minister that is revitalized and vibrant and really bringing it as she has been bringing it, these 12 long years. And I want to check in with my good brother, Doctor, once again, Dr. Will.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you so much for your
Thank you.
wisdom, and thank you for your willingness to walk with us on this path today. I wonder, would you be willing to just take us out in prayer?
Yes, indeed. So again, as you've already done, I want to thank everyone who's present in the studio, in the sanctuary, everyone who's present by way of this wonderful cyber platform. And I'm so grateful that I'm able to fly out to Heart and Soul, Center of Light, and for this experience along with you as I've been doing each week. And I'm definitely appreciative that I have the opportunity to help our dear sister, Reverend Dr. Andriette Earl, get some rest. And I think that's where I want to begin. I want to invite us to center ourselves where we are. And I want us in our imagination to see her really just getting some rest. And I'm going to use this phrase, selfishly taking care of herself on this day. And then let us surround her with beams of love and light and power and renewal and transformation and healing multidimensionally from the crown of her head to the soles of her feet, that she'll be invigorated and that she will continue to be able to bring us these gems of wisdom and knowledge and light as she has for 12 years, is now, and will continue to be. And I also invite us to be a blessing to each other. We can even extend our hands out to each other as we now recollect the significance of keeping our eyes on the prize that our ancestors set before us, and then recognizing that we have come a mighty long way and that we've come over by the power of our life force, and that we will continue to be practitioners of overcoming power. And thirdly, that we will not simply or only accept things as they seem to be or as they present themselves, but that we in the microcosmic aspect of our lives will participate in multidimensional macrocosmic transformation into what things should be. A world that is good for all of us. And not just all of us as humans, but also for other sentient beings, plant life, mineral life, that we have a true ecological awareness and appreciation of Mother Earth in such a time as this. We say amen, we say ashe, we say ayibobo, we say, and so it is, and so we make it.